again. I'm Natasha Joshi and I welcome you to Plum Talks, a podcast where we talk about fashion, trends, and e-commerce. Today we have with us very talented e-commerce brand owner himself, Alfonso. And we are going to talk with him about finding your fashion niche, standing out in a crowded market. Hi Alfonso, how are you?
Hello, Natasha. I'm super fine, and you?
I'm good too. How's it going? Would you like to tell a little bit about your brand so we can start knowing you better?
Of course, it will be a pleasure.
Mhm.
So let's go.
All right. So what we can do is you can tell our audience a little bit about your brand, what you're working on initially, how did you got the idea, and why fashion?
Okay. Let's say that my idea of starting my brand it came from an idea of communication. Let's say that I have always felt this necessity inside me to communicate a message through fashion. And at the beginning, when I was younger, let's say, when my idea of starting a brand, it wasn't really clear in my mind. I was using to communicate a message through clothing, but wearing them in a certain manner. So of course, already existing clothing, and for me was a kind of expression of myself through art of fashion, let's say. Then going ahead with the years, I was starting mentalize myself into the fashion world, and I was starting feeling the necessity of creating my own brand, um, trying to communicate my own message through my own clothes, of course. So everything started from, let's say, an idea and a necessity of communication.
Awesome. I think that's a great initiative that you took for yourself. And as you already said, fashion is art for you. That makes total sense. So, do you have any background of fashion, or tell us a little bit about your background, your experiences, so our audience can understand whether it is important for a person to have such experience to start their own fashion brand, or they can start directly.
Yeah. As a background in fashion, I had some background mostly in creating clothes. That means in I don't know, using a sewing machine or do some pattern maker work and nothing else. In the sense that I never studied, let's say, fashion, the major education at the university, for instance. Rather, my background is totally on another side, and it's outside of the world of arts, and it's law. I have a graduation in international law and protection of human rights. So before starting my fashion brand, I was working in this field. And then let's say that during the years in which I was just a student or law student, this necessity of really working fashion passed by just an hobby, um, to a necessity of find my niche and find my role in this big fashion world. So despite my no education in fashion, I just quitted my my job in as a human rights officer,
Mhm.
and I jumped into the world of fashion. Of course, as I said, with some knowledge of using a machine, of doing some pattern maker work, but without I don't know, let's say a main education in fashion. So if I did it, it's possible for everyone.
Mhm. That's actually very interesting, especially because you showed true passion towards fashion, which is why you left your job as a human rights officer and then you started working on your dreams and started with no experience into this field, and now you're doing it so well. That's commendable. Moving ahead, let's talk a little bit about your niche. So, tell our audience, how did you identify a potential niche within this vast industry? consider factors like style, demographics, or maybe some kind of problem that you're trying to solve.
Okay, so let's say that if you do like I don't know, a general research on how to find your niche and things of this, um, things in this field, the most common feature, the most common characteristics will be like, I don't know, age, geographic, whatever about that. Let's say that I never seen to these indicators as indicators for my brand. I think that at least from my experience, I always love to say that to find my niche, I have a look to people personalities. I think that I have a clear and strong personality, and my design are following this clear, strong personality. So let's say bold cut, or just going outside the ordinary of fashion.
Mhm.
So I find my niche in not ordinary people. That, just concretely talking to give an idea to the people that are listening. Most of the time, I find my customers in people that have a lot to do with art. Maybe because they are working in art, maybe because they are just passionate about art. So people that see the clothes and the garment not only as something that you use to cover yourself, but mainly as something that you use to communicate, to make a statement, to send a message. So
Mhm.
my niche, most of the time, I see to I see through my experience that I found my niche in this big world of artists, from musician to just painter, or to just, I don't know, people that are just passionate about art.
Mhm. I get it. I really like the line where you said that my clothes are for people who are extraordinary, not ordinary enough. So that's
Yeah,
quite
not
confidence, because I think this is something that people can resonate with themselves as well. If I do not want to feel that I'm ordinary, that is something that I can resonate with. That is the kind of style that I want to carry. And you also mentioned about
super.
artists.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's quite
So, yeah,
interesting
super.
because
So you could be inside my niche at this point, no?
definitely. So, how did you? I think before starting your own brand, you would have done some competitive research as well, just to see how many other people are doing similar things. So, did you got chance to research about existing brands within your chosen niche? And if you did, then what are some key strengths that you would say your brand have compared to them?
So let's say that when I do like research in brands that could do something similar to what I do, also to find inspiration, because at the end of the the day, no one is doing something that is totally new. Even though everyone is trying to do something totally new, it's quite difficult to, let's say, invent something. So it's always trying to do something that maybe already existed, but interpreting that thing in a different key. So I have some brands which I'm really passionate about. I don't know, Harry Wibskov, for instance. But when I do research on brands, have not a precise strategy. Mostly it's just, let's say, instinct. And I follow brands that have a peculiar personality, a strong personality, and of course certain values. I've seen in my research through brands that it's not possible, in my opinion, of course, to generalize and say, okay, there are these peculiar strengths that these brands have, especially when you go um, through this brand that have a strong appearance, a strong personality. Most of them, let's say that that it depends the, this strong appearance could be their strongest strength, because when you are in the niche of, for instance, avant-garde fashion, is this bold cut, these weird shapes that make their personality, and at the end of the day, is their personality that is the biggest strength that probably customers see in this brand, and this is why they are used to maybe buy from this brand. On the other side, if they cannot have like just one common strength, they have, in my opinion, one common weakness,
Mhm.
and this is the same weakness that probably small brand, regardless of if they work into the field of avant-garde fashion, or something different. All the small brand working in fashion, they have to face this big industry that are working with the fast fashion.
Mhm. Yeah.
So of course, this is a main problem. This is a main problem that it would be necessary, like, I don't know, like books to talk about, and probably will never will be a never-ending problem. And let's say that from my experience, the most important thing is that people most of the time they do not have a knowledge of how fast fashion work and how they produce, uh, in which countries they produce, and what is the cost, especially in human being life, that they they afford to make people then wear maybe a t-shirt for €9.90. So the common weakness that my brand and all the small brands are facing is just this lack of knowledge of the common people, of how the fast fashion is destroying our world, and how this little brand of slow fashion, regardless of what they are doing into the big fashion field, we are trying to rebuild, let's say, a passion for fashion, and a confidence of the customers in fashion, just looking at fashion as a form of art and not just consumism.
I get it. And I totally agree with what you said about fast fashion, because a lot of people, they still don't have an idea of how fast fashion is working. And I think small brands like yours, brands that are trying to create sustainable market, brands that are trying to create good fabric, good clothes, they are trying, and somehow it is changing, making an impact. Slowly, but definitely, people will understand the value of it, and the market hopefully would change, so that we support sustainability as humanity, right?
Yeah, I mean, I cross my fingers that this will happen someday. But really, it's a battle that everyone should fight. And maybe the thing that will help is just little bit of information, sharing this kind of information on how bad the world is, also because of these big brands of fast fashion. So it's just a bit of information that maybe can change the people mentality, and I don't know, buying something that it's a piece of art, maybe for some money more, but avoiding to buy a trash T-shirt of a fast fashion brand that is, at the end of the day, make spreading that around.
Mm-hmm. True. So, Alfonso, talking more about competitors, do you think it's important for an e-commerce brand to be aware of what new products their competitors are adding in their on their website? Like what new styles or trends or fabric colors they're adding? Is it important?
Yeah, I mean, it's super important, especially when you have a small production. And this is what I try to do with my brand, since, of course, again, I have a slow fashion brand, so that means that I have a small production, and that means that I have an eye for quality. I try to source my material from people that, of course, are not exploited, and mainly in Italy. And so all the chain of production um, could be under observation from the fabric to the finished product. So of course, my main indicator when I make some kind of garment, I mean, regardless of design, regardless of cut, it's quality. So this is one of the key of my work.
Okay. And since we're talking about prototyping, it's very important for us to tell our audience what factors do you consider when designing and developing a product for your niche, for your brand. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So as I was saying before, my niche, I, I found my niche in regardless of age, regardless of geographic features, I find my niche in personality. So just to be clear, I think that who is wearing my clothes are people that have a strong and clear personality, and especially that they want to distinguish themselves through clothing. So that means that my eye as a designer is going toward, having cuts and having shapes that are quite different from the ordinary. So let's get a simple T-shirt and make an example to be quite clear. I don't know. T-shirt has two sleeves. What about making a T-shirt with four sleeves, and maybe the two sleeves that you have under the sleeves where you put your arm, making them as a belt. So you try to review the ordinary shapes of an ordinary garment and make it like a piece of art, of course, following what is the key of the brand. And my brand key is, of course, avant-garde fashion.
I really like the idea of how you portray your brand, like how you portray it as fashion, but in an artistic way. That is what I would say about it. And I
Yeah.
was wondering what would you do with the other two sleeves, but then you also mentioned how you can use it, and that's quite interesting. And it is definitely fulfilling the purpose of your niche, because you already mentioned that you are trying to target a persona who doesn't want to feel ordinary. And because ordinarily people would wear two sleeves, and if there are four, it would be interesting to see how it comes up, right?
So, Natasha,
Yeah.
can you repeat the question, because I didn't hear anything basically?
No, I was not asking a question. I was saying it would
I
be
was a
very.
reflection.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
I was just adding on to what example you just mentioned about the sleeves. I was adding on how it
Mm.
would be interesting and how it would be far away from ordinary, because it would be very interesting to see four sleeves and then using it, try to style it in a way where it would be trending, and the person who is wearing it would not definitely would not feel any ordinary, and people would be looking at him, realizing how cool that thing is, and maybe that's how trends are created, right?
Yeah, but another important thing about that, each time that I'm trying to talk about my brand, especially when it comes to concrete talking, about shapes and about how I design my stuff, and how I made, I don't know, my cuts and all those kind of things. People, most of the time, they ask me, but it's something that you can wear only in a extraordinary context, extraordinary, I don't know, events. um I don't find it true, because it's just a matter of mindset. You
Mm-hmm.
know, that means that you can wear something that it's not ordinary also during ordinary days. You know, you don't need, I don't know, being part of a rock band to wear certain kind of clothes. At the same time, you don't need to be on a red carpet to wear, I don't know, a bold blazer with a peculiar cut. You know, so it's just a matter of mindset and how people are ready to receive this kind of mindset and show themselves out of the world. I mean, in the street with certain kind of clothes. That is just a way to communicate their personality through clothes, as you can do it through words or just writing a poetry. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's quite the same.
It is indeed. Moving ahead towards a very good and helpful question for our audience. I want you to share some of the challenges that you faced while choosing the right audience for yourself. And did you had any other options for yourself? Like if not this, then I'll create clothes for this particular audience. And if you could share some challenges that you faced and how you overcame those challenges, that would be helpful for our audience.
So I think that as small brand, especially as a small brand that want to respect a certain quality in the finished product, the one of the biggest challenge that, you know, from my perspective as a small brand that is trying to make everything in respecting some a certain quality, the one of the biggest issue that I find in my pathway is the sourcing of material.
Mm-hmm.
It's not easy to find good material uh, at the price that is acceptable, also to avoid then to sell garments that are really at high price.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say my main source of material is in Italy, and so each time I have to go there personally and going through fabrics, going through I don't know, buttons or whatever, to source each material piece for piece and make sure that I'm getting the highest quality possible, of course, with a price that is also acceptable, avoiding then to sell overpriced garments.
Mm-hmm.
Another big main issue that I found in my way is that when you are a small brand, you cannot produce many garments in once. So if you wanna do something that it's respectful with the world in which we are, with the people around, of course you have to make sure to pay really I mean, the cost of life is quite high, especially here in Europe, and is increasing. So everyone that is working with me, uh, of course, has to receive a great payment, a great salary, and that means that at the end of the day, after a lot of work, after sourcing the high quality material, you have to overprice your garment to feel safe on a safe side and make the make some money for yourself.
Right.
So it's not easy. Let's say being in these dynamics and try um, to find a balance. It's not easy if you want to do the things in an harmonious way and well done.
Then I think that's a piece of advice that our audience can take today. That you have to find a balance and you have to find how you, as a brand owner, can do all these things together while keeping the price not very high and not very low and keeping the product quality good as well. Right? All right, Alfonso. So we are
We here?
already
Yeah.
close to time. So one last thing that I would like you to share with our audience, Do you have any one piece
Yeah,
of
please.
advice that you learned while being a fashion brand owner, and that is very valuable to you as a fashion brand owner, and something that you thought that if anybody could have taught you this before?
Okay, so I think that an obstacle that all young passionate about fashion or people that have a brand, they are always telling me, and I've heard plenty of time how difficult is to, let's say, swim in this sea of fashion. And of course, it's super difficult. It's super hard to go through, but I think that if you have a clear vision and if you believe in what you do, you strongly believe in what you do, then of course it can take time, but you will arrive at certain point to get a lot of satisfaction. So my advice is just don't believe to people that say that this is impossible, this is difficult, or this is whatever. If you feel it inside you and you have the right dedication and you of course put a lot of efforts inside it, because it's also a pleasure. It's if it's a passion, it's a pleasure to work into it. Things can happen, and things can happen even faster than you expect.
Totally makes sense what you just shared, because if you're passionate about it completely, then there are going to be some obstacles, but you have to keep going and building your brand. So thank you so much, Alfonso, for being here with us, talking about your brand, sharing what were the important things that you chose for your niche and how it helped you being an entrepreneur today as having your own fashion brand. I think this podcast is going to be very helpful for people who are at least struggling in finding their own niche. It will help them, and maybe if you have any other questions, you can drop that down in the comment section and we'll try to find Alfonso again to answer those questions for you. Thank you so much for joining us today for this session. Have a nice day.
Natasha, thank to you.
Episodes on our website or YouTube channel. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel to show your support. We also have a very special treat for marketers seeking to enhance their skills in PPC marketing. Visit our website and explore our free academy section, exclusively designed to provide valuable resources and knowledge in this field. And to connect with marketers like yourself, join our Slack community for marketers. Details given in caption below.